What
What
up?
up? What up, everybody? Oh God, are we in this thing?
Yeah, we're in it.
Oh God, I need to
So
get this pulled up.
started a little bit late, but it's all right.
All right, where are we at in this thing?
I
We
got
got
pick
Big Joe
a
1-8. Oh, I got 1-9. Oh, I'm sniping you all draft. You already know the vibes. 1 million up top. You not getting it?
1,000,001.
1 million and one. What would you do with the extra dollar? That's
Probably
the
buy a
that's
McChicken or something.
this guy.
Yeah,
How you doing,
what's the
babe?
issue?
Man, come on. McChicken. I be getting a Butterfingers.
Butterfinger is clear cut the worst candy bar in America. That's a pretty standard opinion though. So
If I stopped eating Butterfingers, I'd probably still have this tooth.
yeah, how's the tooth going?
Pretty good,
How's,
dude. I'm about a week away from it getting fixed. I'll be pretty again soon. To all the listeners out there who are concerned, find it off-putting watching me speak, like myself.
it's all right. Get
I'm
it
ready.
fixed. Be back in no time.
Big Joe on the clock. 30 second. Hey, looks like your clock is fixed, dude.
Yeah, it's
Long-time
about
viewers
time.
of the stream would know that Joey's been struggling with the clock on UD for quite some time.
Yeah, fixed by itself, I guess.
I guess I'm gonna just go. All right, so you got JT. I like that pick. I'm gonna lean into the ceiling here.
Ceiling. Nick
Give me a
Chubb
give me a little Nick
splitting
Chubb.
carries.
Nick Chubb half PPR. I don't have to worry about the lack of receptions here. Just get those touchdowns.
Hey, you still get 0.5 for a catch.
Little 0.5 vibes. Yeah, true,
Easy.
true, true.
You know, still valuable to get guys that can catch the ball as well as get work on the ground. But I don't know. I probably would take Aaron Jones and Austin Eckler above Nick Chubb, but that's me personally. I know a lot of people are high on Chubb though, so that's not really like an unpopular pick. I would say so.
A little bit above ADP, but that's okay. ADP is just a suggestion in these things. We're going for first or worst. Come on.
But how's it going? How's life going?
Oh, pretty good, man. How about yourself? You know, I'm vibing. No
Shit.
tooth. About to crack open this low key
Did
little
you?
surge.
So
Y'all
I
fuck
mean,
with blood orange
the
surge.
White Claw Surge. I never seen that before, but I saw that you got a microchip today.
I did. I did. Um,
Yeah. How was
yeah,
that?
right here hurts a little bit. I mean, I might start turning into a sheep. Like bah bah.
Like,
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. I'm ready. I'm ready. I gave enough time since I had COVID to like not die from it. So, you know, got that Pfizer. Obviously, like if you get anything other than Pfizer, like come on, what are you talking about? What'd you get?
I got the Pfizer. So
Yeah, good shit. Good shit. I mean, it's okay to like be cheap in some aspects of life, but not when you're injecting it into your body. Like, I need that A1. I need that top tier, top shelf.
yeah, I heard some things about the Johnson one, so I probably wasn't gonna get that. So, but pretty easy process, simple process.
You still on your first, right?
Yeah, my second one is in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yep.
just about 2 weeks. But some big news. My boy Julio might be coming to New England. I'm interested to see where his ADP is going to land, and I'm
Yeah,
also
I'm very
interested to
interested in that.
see if Cam Newton's ADP is going to rise, because if they can get Julio, Cam's going to have weapons. He's going to have a lot of weapons at his disposal, and I think he's a prime candidate for a bounce back year, in my opinion. So
How's he gonna bounce back playing behind Mac Jones? I'm confused.
I mean, Mac Jones is not going to start. I mean, Cam Newton is clear cut the week 1 starter. Now, if
What
he
about
plays bad,
week four and on.
nah, Cam Newton's a starter. I just don't think they'll pass the torch that quick. If Cam Newton is terrible, then obviously you kind of have to go to Mac at that point. but I would give it at least this season before we see Mac Jones start a game, unless like I just said that happens. And a lot of people think it will. A lot of people don't like Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was productive early last year until he got COVID, and then everything kind of got derailed. And we've already outlined some of the issues that he dealt with last year. So in
I think we're both
2021,
bullish on Cam to an extent. To an extent, the Mac Jones changes things a little bit. That selection.
Yeah, I mean, he could not start 17 games, and that would hurt his upside from a fantasy perspective. But I still think, honestly, I don't even know where he's being drafted, so I would have to see that, and we're going to see that in this draft. But if you're getting him as like a back end quarterback too, I think that's solid value on Cam Newton, especially with his rushing floor. So interested to see where he goes.
In terms of ADP, he and Mac Jones both actually are going past pick 200. So these are, final round type of picks in an underdog format with 18 rounds, 12 teams.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm also interested to see where Julio goes as well. He's been going in the fourth, fifth round in a bunch of these drafts that we've done, and it's basically a foregone conclusion at this point that he's out of Atlanta.
It was undisputed, right?
Shannon Sharp is a savage. Like that was some savage shit.
Do you think that he really didn't know that he was on the show?
I mean,
there's no shot, right?
It'd have to be like that. That's shady if Shannon didn't tell him that he was on the show.
Very shady, bro. I'd be blocking Shannon's number if I'm Julio and he did that to me. But I don't think that happened. Julio knew. Come on.
I mean, yeah, I think he knew as well. But God, if he didn't know, Shannon Sharp's a complete savage.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
But yeah, so Julio wants out of Atlanta, and I think they'll trade him within the next coming days or weeks. But the offseason is still long, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But just in terms of his fantasy outlook, if he gets traded, I mean, his fantasy outlook has to go down, right? I think.
It'll be hard for him to. It'll be hard for him to get in a better position than being paired with Matt Ryan, in my opinion.
There's probably, I'm gonna take Dobbins here, but there's probably no other better situation for him to be in fantasy wise besides maybe the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs went out and made like a splash trade for Julio, then I don't think his fantasy potential will dip. But anywhere else, I think that his ADP will fall for sure.
It depends. I mean, if he goes to New England, I think his ADP drops. If he goes to, I've heard LA with Justin Herbert, that could be elite. I mean, God, that could be truly elite. That could actually be an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a crazy offense with Julio and Big Mike on the outside, Keenan in the slot with Austin Eckler and Jared Cook and Donald Parham and, Justin Herbert. Like that's a crazy offense. That would be interesting to see.
Another one that Jalen Ramsey was on Twitter lobbying for him to go to the Rams. I would love to see Julio and Stafford paired.
That would be crazy.
That would be absolutely insane.
that would be a pretty good spot too. I mean, they did come out and say that they don't want to trade him to an NFC team, but they will if it comes.
If they offer a first round pick, that's the asking price, right? They said first round pick. I mean, I don't think that there will be more than 2 or 3 teams willing to pay that price for Julio at this point in his career with the contract and with the age. But I mean, God, if someone in the NFC offers a first and the other best offers a second in the AFC, like, are you really going to not make that move? That seems shaky to me.
Nah, yeah, you're definitely going to make that move 100%. And I just saw also that they were shopping him before these reports came out and nobody offered a first. So we'll see if that changes. I don't know if it will because, like you said, he's an aging star with a big cap hit. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. And, speaking of Julio, I mean, he's like the third best player available according to Underdog ADP. Probably not going to draft him, but I'm going to be interested to see where he goes at this point. because I just think there's I think there's more negatives than positives with Julio right now in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what do you think about the impact of? I mean, because I'm anticipating that he's gone at this point, right? So, what is the impact on Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts? And does it bring players like Russell Gage and my boy Olamide Zaccheaus back into play?
I think it definitely brings Russell Gage into play for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He'll instantly be the number 2 in terms of the wide receiver depth chart, and he'll probably be the third option in the passing game. And, Russell Gage, he's not a bad wide receiver, I don't think. So I think his value shoots up immediately if Julio Jones gets dealt. I mean, it's hard for Kyle Pitts' ADP to rise even more at this point.
Right.
So I don't know if we'll see a rise in his ADP. Maybe the Falcons transition him into like a wide receiver and keep Hayden Hurst as their main tight end. I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see what they do. But Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts with no Julio, it's all systems go. I mean, there'll be elite fantasy options week in and week out. Just kind of mad at myself. I don't have many shares of Calvin Ridley, which hurts. But when he's going with a second round price tag, it's kind of hard to get him third round price tag.
I mean, I'll pay that second round price tag. I think he's right in that same tier as AJ Brown and DK Metcalf in terms of touchdown upside, especially on a site like this where touchdowns are going to be weighed more heavily than on sites like Drafters and even DraftKings. And by the way, we'll talk about this on the podcast on Thursday, but DraftKings, right? They released this massive best ball tournament. It is still app only. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I joined a draft and I tried to go on my computer. It says app only. Like, bro, you've had a year to straighten this out. What are we doing? How is the number one company with the most money this incompetent? I don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't know. The tournament's huge though.
It is.
Broke down the payouts or posted the payouts on my Twitter, I should say. What is it, like $1,200,000 to first or something like that?
It's big time money. Big money.
Big drop off though for second place. They get like $250,000 or something like that. But it is the biggest best ball tournament ever on DraftKings right now. $20 entry. But the players on DraftKings are horrible. So I'm definitely going to be firing some entries into that pretty soon.
Have you done any yet? I did my first one, like I said, and I'll be honest, man. I mean, it's the softest drafts out there. There's still so many sharp people that are gravitating towards Underdog and even drafters to an extent. But DraftKings, God, these people, it looks like they've never drafted a best ball team in their life. It feels like free money, no cap. I'm 100% max entering that thing.
Yeah, I mean, the users are definitely inexperienced on DraftKings, that's for sure. And there's definitely a big edge if you know how to draft best ball teams correctly. And
I also like that it's 20 rounds with 12 teams. So it's a deep player pool. And the more you put work in, the better you'll be able to come out with more options, more rounds.
Yeah, for sure. And it's pretty much like the same format as Underdog, with the playoffs being in the last couple of weeks of the regular season. So
15 through 17 seems to be the standard, and I'm glad they did that, and I'm glad they shifted it from 14 with several teams having a bye week in week 14. I'm glad that it's not going to penalize players for that.
All right. Talked about touchdown upside. I think Kenny Galladay has a lot of touchdown upside just as a player. The Giants offense should be better than it was last year with Kenny G. They added Kadarius Toney. They're getting Saquon back. Should be all systems go. But another thing that I kind of want to focus on is, especially in these playoff formats, it is kind of with some teams trying to get stacks of game or of quarterbacks in good spots like later in the season. Because obviously, like you're playing for first, so you're expecting your team to make it that far into the playoff format, and in like week 16 and week 17, there's going to be some quarterbacks with some good matchups. So got the schedule pulled up on my other monitor that I'm looking at, and I'm gonna try and do that this draft. But it's also going to be hard to say like this team is going to be bad, 17 weeks into the season at this point.
For sure. The thing that I've been looking at, and this is again another topic that I want to hit on the upcoming podcast for Thursday, but there's 16 teams, obviously half of the teams with 2 home games during the week 15 through 17 weeks. So I think that is something you could look at. Obviously, historically, you're more likely to be favored at home, which means you're more likely to have a higher implied team total. It's hard to look at that thing so far in advance, but it is something that we can just, use our brains to think about. Like if it's going to be favored, they're going to have higher, implied team totals. And there's a list of some pretty good offenses, including Buffalo, Indy, Philly, Baltimore is one, Cincinnati is one, Seattle is one, Dallas is one. Like these are very stackable offenses that are going to be getting at least 2 home games during the duration of the Underdog and DraftKings playoffs.
Yep. And then just looking at week 17 specifically, some matchups that stand out to me is the Bills. They're at home against the Falcons. That's a solid spot for Josh Allen and Diggs. And then you got the Niners. I know you just took Ayuk. I was kind of hoping he falls. They're at home against the Texans, who are going to be the worst team in the NFL. So that's a nice little stacking option for you if you want with Trey Lance and hope that he's the starter by then. And then you got the Chiefs at the Bengals. That's a good spot for them. So those are 3 teams that I think could, I think those are 3 teams that could be very good to stack if you're just looking at the schedule late in the season.
Yeah, and I know, competitors probably a strong word, but our peers, maybe that's a strong word too, but Establish the Run is super bullish on the Cincinnati stack. They've been talking about that quite a bit. We will be having Adam Levitan on the podcast in the coming months. That'll be a really great episode. But their whole website and everybody that works for them is super high on Cincinnati. And you look at them having 2 home games out of the last 3 weeks, and one of them being against the Chiefs. That's, I don't know, seems like set up for success in a tournament format like this.
Yeah,
we've talked at length about Joe Burrow on our last episode. Even talked about Joe Burrow being in prime position to bounce back with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and upwards of 40 plus pass attempts per week by all projections.
Yeah, I definitely like the Bengals stack, and there's some value there as you can get Joe Burrow pretty late. But if we're just looking at some of their games to end the season, I mean, specifically their last 3 games for the playoff format, they play the Broncos in Denver, then they play the Ravens at home, and then the Chiefs at home. So they got they got a tough stretch of games there. So
I mean, theoretically, the Broncos could be right in that Texans tier of god awful if they don't fix the Drew Lock situation.
Yeah, I mean the offense will, but I think their defense is going to be pretty solid. If I had to project the defense right now, especially with them taking Surtain over a quarterback, and they went out and got Kyle Fuller as well. So their secondary is pretty elite, honestly. And then they still have players like Bradley Chubb and Von Miller in the front 7. So I'm expecting Denver's defense to be one of the better ones in the NFL this year, and that should carry their team if they're starting Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. So, but God, this is the part of the draft where I'm really not too interested in some of these guys. I think there's some value still left at wide receiver with Tyler Boyd and Devontae Smith and Juju, but other than that.
Now, see, I already went with Lamar Jackson, but at this point, when you're looking at the running backs that are available, the wide receivers that are available, I find myself prioritizing that final tier of quarterbacks with elite upside. Jalen Hurts just goes. Russell Wilson's in that category for me as well. But
dang, I was gonna take Jalen Hurts here. That's very unfortunate. So
indeed.
Got sniped. Russ. I mean, I could take Russ. No, I don't think I'm gonna take Russ here. I'm gonna take who he maybe thought was gonna fall in Devontae Smith.
It's a solid pick. I like Devontae Smith.
I think Devontae Smith is going to step in and be the Eagles wide receiver 1 from day 1, and then Rager takes over that number 2 role, and then they still have Dallas Goedert. So I'm expecting big things out of the Eagles offense, to be honest, and I think Devontae Smith, I don't want to project him to be an outlier, but I think he can be productive from a fantasy standpoint. So I like him a lot. And I'm fine with taking him as my wide receiver 4.
I agree with that, and I went with Dallas Goedert there. I mean, to me, he is that tight end 5 after Mark Andrews, after Kittle, Waller, and Kelsey. I prefer him over Pitts, to be honest, and I know that's a hot take, but
yeah,
I love the situation.
I love
the situation. I mean, maybe I'll have to adjust that, like look at some updated projections post Julio, but at this point, I'm taking Goedert there. I mean, Goedert is fully elite in my mind, and without Zach Ertz there, it's going to be, to the moon.
Yeah, I'm not taking Goedert above Pitts.
You don't have to be fair.
Well, yeah. And I mean, personally, I'm not preferring Goedert over Pitts is what I should say.
How high is Goedert for you? Do you view him as that guy?
He's top 7, top 8. I think Kyle Pitts is top 5. Personally, I think Kyle Pitts is 4, just in terms of fantasy and real life at this point. And then, but if I'm taking a tight end right now, if I'm a GM and they're like, you take a tight end, everything included, age, everything from this point forward, I'm taking Kyle Pitts 101.
Well, unfortunately, this isn't a team building exercise. It's a 2021 points exercise.
That's a fact.
Obviously, the upside is higher than Goedert. Don't get me twisted.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm still taking him I'm still ranking him above Goedert, preferring him over Goedert in fantasy. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Kyle Pitts, he's gonna be a god. So
I'm about to take the most slept-on player in fantasy football in 2021. And tell me why Curtis Samuel, Jalen Waddle, and Jarvis Landry are going ahead of Michael Gallup. I know that people have this thing with Michael Gallup because Lamb was good and Cooper was good and Dak, got injured. So maybe they're forgetting that Michael Gallup was literally the 1A, 1B with Amari Cooper only 2 years ago. And it remains in an elite offense and should get targets every single week and has a ton of upside. I don't get it. Like, God, I just want all the exposure I can get. Michael Gallup going 4 rounds later than Lamb and Cooper is absurd to me.
I mean, I just think that Cooper and Lamb are going to be the main targets, but that doesn't mean that Gallup isn't going to have fantasy value, right? So I think in the 8th round, he's a fine pick. I don't necessarily love him at that ADP just because I kind of view him as a boomer bust player. But in this format, you need those spike weeks, and Gallup is a guy that can get you a 25, 30-point week, especially late in the season as well. If you get one of those games or 2 of those games, then you're vibing. And
absolutely. And Dallas again is one of those teams with 2 home games indoors during the playoff stretch for Underdogs.
But yes, I do think that he has a higher ceiling, if I had to put it like that. He has a higher ceiling than those 3 wide receivers that went in front of him. And if you're prioritizing, ceiling and having boom weeks, then Gallup is probably the pick over those guys. But just on a weekly basis, from a floor perspective, you're probably sacrificing points, taking Gallup above those guys. So just depends on what type of player you are. And I know that we both kind of prioritize ceiling over floor in a best ball format. So
all day, every day. What type of player are you? Are you sharp or are you a donkey?
Are you eating the grass or you
eating the grass?
You eating the grass or nah? I don't know if I am, but
I don't know,
I'm
bro.
liking my team so far. My team is pretty solid. But ninth round, this is kind of where it's like the tiers start just breaking, and then there's a major gap after these tiers break. And I mean, you could definitely still find some value, and there's definitely some boom guys in here like Michael Pittman. I know you're high on him.
God
And
damn, Trey Lance just went 9-2. Whoa. Wait, what?
I mean, his
Ahead
ADP
of
is the
Rodgers
ones.
and Stafford and Ryan and Trevor? Bro.
I mean, he has Kittle and Samuel.
Okay. All right. Forgive me. Go for it on fourth. I actually like that just because of your team structure. But goddamn, that's the highest I've seen Trey Lance go.
He still sacrificed, some value for a stack, and
he probably could have waited 2 rounds and still gotten him, right?
Yeah. Or at least this turnaround, because you probably wouldn't have taken him because you have a quarterback already, and nobody else has any Niners players. So, I mean, I'm going to take Rodgers here and hope that he plays for Green Bay. I'll probably have to take 2 more quarterbacks with picking Rodgers just because of the uncertainty at this point. And I know that he didn't attend OTAs today or whatever, and I'm not too afraid of that. He's either
that was expected, right? Like, did anybody think he was going to OTA? I don't know why that was the story. It's like, what?
But the Galaxy brain, okay? If he plays with Green Bay, I get the Rodgers Adams stack, and we know that's deadly. His most likely spot, I think, that he gets traded to Denver, and I got
that Noah Fant, bro.
Honestly, that's the Galaxy brain stuff you gotta be thinking about in these drafts.
You're low key, like, you're too sharp for this.
That's what I'm saying. I think if they, I think what realistically happens is they don't trade him and he plays, because they've been adamant on making him happier or whatever. But if we're just looking at like a long shot scenario, I think the most realistic teams is either the Broncos or the Raiders that he gets traded to. And I know those 2 teams have been linked to Rodgers, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But like I've mentioned this before, I think he plays for Green Bay. And
I do as well. But he is putting the pressure on.
I mean, he has to. They draft a fullback last year and A.J. Dillon. They draft his backup quarterback replacement that, by all accounts, isn't good. In the first round last year, like they're not doing anything.
I ended up going with Stafford there as my QB too, with Lamar Jackson and Stafford. In terms of 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 rounds for me, that'll probably be all I take. But Stafford went, a full round after his ADP. I had to jump on that. I love Stafford's upside.
We get Big Mike.
Mike. The thing about Julio Jones is that there's a good chance his value doesn't change because a lot of the prospective landing spots are pretty good, but he's going to kill somebody's value.
Yeah, 100%.
He goes to LA, whether it's the Chargers or the Rams. Okay, Big Mike, huge fall off. Robert Woods, huge fall off. So somebody's going to be pissed when Julio gets traded. Somebody, just don't know who yet.
I don't know. I think wholeheartedly, not because I'm a Patriots fan, but I think he's going to the Patriots.
I mean, objectively, that has to be like the worst spot for fantasy, no?
Yes.
By far.
Just because of the uncertainty around Cam Newton, and then if Mac Jones steps in, who knows how he's going to fare in the NFL. I know a lot of people don't really love him as a prospect, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think for fantasy purposes, it is probably one of the worst spots that he can go to, just because of the quarterback situation. But I mean, he'd be the alpha there, and
would he?
I mean, yeah.
Y'all got Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar. What you talking about?
Yeah, but he'll be the alpha if he comes to New England.
Yep.
And I mean, Cam Newton, he's put up good fantasy years in years prior, but that was also like 6 years ago. So
I mean, he was good in. I mean, he wasn't good in fantasy last year, but he made me money on DraftKings last year. If you knew what weeks to go after him, yeah, he had several 2 touchdown rushing weeks. So
yeah, he had several weeks where he scored above 30.
yeah, I mean, he was that dude.
So
People just hate Cam Newton. They really
I mean,
do.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, he's never been the most efficient passer ever in his career. But we know that in fantasy, the rushing upside is part of the reason why he's been one of the best fantasy quarterbacks over the last 10 years, right? And that's kind of what we're hoping stays the same when we're drafting Cam Newton or projecting Cam Newton. And he's pretty much Josh Allen with a worse arm at this point. He's going to run the ball just as much, and he's going to score rushing touchdowns.
See, right here is a prime example of like some of the mistakes I think people are making. Like, look at that, 11.3 and 11.4. Why are you taking Cole Beasley ahead of Gabriel Davis in terms of upside in this format? Like, yeah, Cole Beasley in cash, maybe, but what are you doing? Like Davis, Bateman, I'm taking both of them ahead of him. I'm taking Elijah Moore, Brashad, like all these guys. They're just people who waste picks on players that don't belong in this range, in my humble opinion.
I mean, Cole Beasley is I don't think he's that great of a pick. Just because, like you said, he's a floor player. He's a cash game player.
The only time you should be playing Cole Beasley is on the Thanksgiving slate on DraftKings, and
that's a
never
fact.
any other time. But I mean, obviously, you have to play him there because he's locks for 20 plus.
That's a fact. I'm gonna go with a little double stack.
Hopefully, a double stack, right?
I mean, I think it's a double stack. Like I just said, I think Rodgers plays for Green Bay. But we'll see what happens, and get my 2 tight ends and Fan and Tunyon. And
I'm gonna follow you with the last guy that I think is a tier break at tight end with Evan Ingram. I know that people aren't so bullish on him these days, but he's still he has that athleticism to produce elite weeks. It's going to be a struggle maybe with the amount of targets that have to get spread around between Galladay, Godius, Shepard, Tony, and Ingram, Barkley. Like it's going to be a stretch, but he could have big weeks.
Yeah,
he certainly has the talent.
Yeah, 100%. But he has some of the worst hands in the NFL. And
nah, come on, bro.
No cap. Some of the worst hands in the NFL. What he lead? He led tight ends in drops last year. I think.
Was that on him or was it on Danny?
I mean, he dropped clear cut in his chest, like in his chest drop.
Really?
Yes.
Damn.
But I mean, when we're drafting tight ends, we want those athletic freaks, just because they have more upside than a guy like Jared Cook or Gronkowski. So I'll always advocate on taking a guy like that in Evan Ingram or Mike Gesicki. And I actually saw a video on Mike Gesicki basically saying how he's actually pretty trash to what he should be.
I saw a video like that about TJ Hawkinson as well, which was kind of shocking, but I guess Hawkinson, there's a lot of film out there, and see, this is where like I lack in my analysis because I'm more about the stats and the efficiency. But Hawkinson looks good from like a yards per catch type of vibe, but according to the film people, he falls down way too much and leaves yards on the field. So I don't know, something I should look into, I guess, for a guy who's consistently being drafted as a top 6 tight end.
Yeah. I mean, right here, I mean, I don't know. I think there's some value in.
Bro, you love David Johnson. You love this man. Why?
Hey.
Bruh. I've never seen somebody draft David Johnson more than you.
I mean, he's gonna get touches, right? He has to.
Is he definitively any better than Mark Ingram or Philip Lindsay at this point in their respective careers? I would say no.
I mean, you're probably right, but they did trade, DeAndre Hopkins for him.
True.
So I think they have to play him.
That
Mark
is
Ingram is, he's a scrub. I think Philip Lindsay is the guy that could potentially take over, but I mean, even with last season, they showed that they want to give David Johnson touches, and I just needed an RB4, and just with the running backs left besides maybe Philip Lindsay, I'm probably not going to get as many touches out of these guys as I would out of David Johnson. So I'll go with him as my RB4 and just cry myself to sleep about it.
It's not that bad. He was the RB15 in points per game, although that was in full PPR. I feel like that would be different in half.
Yeah. For sure.
No, 15 in both. Just goes to show that, if you're adjusting your rankings too far for half point PPR, you're probably making a mistake because ultimately it's very similar.
Yeah. Like I said, receptions are still valuable. You're still getting half a point per reception. So, but God, these wide receivers that are left are starting to get grim.
They are
very grim.
And just speaking about my own team, I mean, God, Josh Reynolds in the 13th. What the hell are we doing with our lives? But I have 4 wide receivers, and I need about 6 more. So this is going to get ugly pretty quick.
Yeah, I have 5 wide receivers, so depth is going to be looking a little rough here. But I think this is the point in the draft where some of these wide receivers could have some boom weeks, like Henry Ruggs and Paris Campbell, and even a guy like Christian Kirk, who you can get a little bit later, and then the Giants wide receivers as well.
Dude, I was taking Traquan Smith with like the 200th pick like 3 weeks ago. Now he's going in the 13th. Yeah, life comes at you fast.
I'm kind of on board with Jameis just being the starter and just him going nuclear with Michael Thomas and Traquan and Marquez Callaway and all of those guys.
Yes, sir. I'm right there with you.
Jeez, man. I got to take a wide receiver here.
Don't take my guy, bruh.
What you mean, bro?
You were so shady for that.
How am I shady?
Bro, you're not even a Paris Campbell guy.
Bro, what are you talking about?
Like
he was one of my guys last year. Yeah, that's my son.
Not this year. Bro, I can't believe you just did. I'm about to get auto-picked. Fuck. All right, give me Terrace. God damn it. I was so set. All right. Let's get back in it.
I mean, you knew I had to be going there.
I fit. Yeah, but I didn't think you were that sharp, honestly. I didn't.
Sharpest person you know.
Cap.
This is where the drafts are won, though, right?
Indeed they are.
I need another quarterback.
I don't know anybody in this draft besides you, obviously, but I'm looking at these names like
I feel like I've seen some of these guys before, though.
Socrates? That's not Soccer Dave, is it? It might be. That might be his Underdog username. I'm not sure. Philip Lindsay.
No, I don't think it is. So what? We're at pick 156. So I'll pick 161. Bet. Dang.
Wide receiver 14-1. Watson, another man who was unsurprisingly not at camp today.
He's still adamant on being traded.
Don't blame him.
Why don't the Patriots just trade for Julio? Then you trade for Watson, give up Mac Jones, and just rule the AFC for another 10 years, or at least be up in the kingdom with the Chiefs. God,
the Chiefs and the Bills.
No.
What are we talking about here?
No. Josh Allen don't got that clutch gene in him.
Bro, what? I mean, Deshaun Watson could get traded to the Patriots tomorrow, and he's still the second best quarterback in that division.
That's cap.
No, it's not.
Deshaun Watson is the second best quarterback in the NFL.
What?
Yes.
Bro.
What?
No.
Yes.
No. And no. You got me real life heated right now.
Bro, Deshaun Watson is clear cut too.
He's top 5.
He's or a max 3 if you want to put Rodgers at 2.
No,
after last year.
It goes.
Josh Allen is not better than Deshaun Watson. Shut up.
It goes Mahomes, Stafford, Josh Allen,
shut the fuck up, yo.
Tua, and then Watson at 5.
Bruh. Oh god. No. All right, here's the actual top 5.
Give it to me.
Mahomes 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can either put Rodgers or Watson at 2 and 3. So
what did Josh Allen do to you?
No, Josh Allen's 4. Josh Allen is 4. Watson and Rodgers, I'd rather are better than Josh Allen. Fact. So I personally would put Watson 2. I'd rather have Watson than Rodgers, then Josh Allen, and then 5 is a toss up between a couple guys. I think that Lamar is in the conversation. Then you obviously got to include Brady in there.
Bro, what? I mean, all bullshit aside, Russell Wilson's number 2 behind Mahomes.
No.
He's clear cut ahead of Watson and Rodgers.
Watson is better than Russell Wilson.
I mean, the fact that you just put Brady and like whoever else, and
no,
you didn't even put
there.
Russ is held down by bad coaching and bad play calling. If he had fucking Brian Dable calling his plays, he would be Mahomes level, 100%.
Watson hasn't been held down by bad coaching. What are you saying? He's had arguably a worse coach, and not arguably he has in Bill O'Brien for the majority of his career.
Worse coach, but not worse play calling, because at least they let him air it out instead of giving 1,000 touches to Chris Carson instead of putting it on the back of Russ. No, I'm bugged. I'm bugged for that take. I can't be.
They aired it out a little bit.
Yeah, and they were slaying, and then they stopped and became average. What's the correlation?
I mean, Watson. He's played obviously way less years, but he has a better completion percentage, better quarterback rating than Russell Wilson has in his career. So
big quarterback rating guy.
No, I'm just saying Watson is 2.
Yeah, he's good.
Watson is better than Russ.
He's right in there with that Russ.
Who takes
Stafford.
Demarcus Robinson in the 15th round? What are we doing here? Bro. Okay, Russ would probably be 5, actually. Now that I think about it.
I mean, Russ is 4 behind Mahomes, Allen, and Stafford, right?
Bro, Stafford might not even be top 10.
Oh, bro.
He's probably 11.
That's cap.
No cap.
I mean, all these wide receivers are literally dog shit.
Yeah, they're terrible.
I'm gonna take a RB5 because I don't care. Give me my boy. I know people hate him, but he is the clear-cut number 2 running back. If Chris Carson ever goes down, he's literally the starter in an elite offense and a run-first offense.
Shit. But yeah, I mean, Stafford is probably 11.
No.
Right?
He's 6 or 7
No.
at the
Absolutely not.
I mean, if you ask me, like Stafford over Rodgers, if we're talking about this year,
absolutely not.
That's not a hot take at all. That's a fact take.
A fact take. Oh, so Cam Newton went in the 15th round.
Interesting.
At pick 180, but his ADP is 205. So maybe people are getting a little bit on the Cam Newton train with Julio Jones possibly inbound.
And people are gonna feel sick when Kendrick Bourne's the wide receiver 1 in week 1.
Bro, do you ever give like actual takes, or do you just like to troll?
Just troll. There's enough takes out there.
Got it.
So I got it. Zach Wilson. See, I would rather have Zach Wilson in the 16th than Cam Newton in the 15th. Like, if we're talking about players who are going to start more games with better weapons.
Cap.
I mean, I need a wide receiver, but they're all dog shit. I'll do it. I'll do it for the brand. Give me Godius.
For the brand.
Give me Godius, man. I might take Godius on every team just so if I win one of these tournaments and win some big money, I can flaunt that.
I respect it. I'm gonna take a RB5 here in Cullen.
Now, I know that the typical strategy and the most prevailing and popular strategy in best ball right now is to take only 4 running backs. We both went with 5. I would say 5 is the max, though, for Underdog. With 18 rounds, if you're taking more than 5, you are part of the rake. I'm wrong?
No, you're 100% right. I'm never taking more than 5 running backs, and yeah, I mean the hyper fragile running back build is very popular, and I could have went with that build if I wanted to, but I just feel like Cohen is a better pick than some of these other guys available. So I'll take Cohen, and for various reasons, which I can say, right now is he's going to have a very fantasy friendly role in the Bears offense. He's the highest paid Bears running back on the roster right now. And he's had multiple top 30 finishes in his career so far, even finished as an RB1 in one of his careers, 70 plus catches in 2 straight years. I mean, Cohen is one of the most slept on running backs in fantasy, I think, and he's definitely going to be my highest owned player out of any position.
Yeah. I co-signed that take.
It's just like the opportunity cost is so low with Tariq Cohen. If you're getting him at pick 185 as I don't even know, probably like RB 40 or RB 50.
It's closer to 50.
Yeah, I don't know how to look at that, but
bro, my whole queue just got drafted: Jacoby, Josh Palmer, and Van Jefferson. Bro, what are we doing?
Shit.
I have no idea who I'm gonna pick right now. Make sure you use that whole clock, bro. I gotta think. Shit.
Excuse me. There we go. See, You got to be a little bit cautious though in a $25 entry. If Rodgers for some reason doesn't play at all, which is in the realm of possibility, if you just want to throw all the options out there, with this team, I need 2 more quarterbacks.
Callaway. I'm a big Trey Way guy, but I can be wrong. I know that. My ego's not too big to admit that. Maybe Callaway's the number 2.
He might be. He actually very well might be.
He might.
So.
And by the way, Joy, one of the tweets that you posted within the last week that really struck a chord with me was that if you don't have money on your takes, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm about to put my money where my mouth is right here with this pick and take a player that I, went on a bit of a rant on for last week's podcast. And that's the thing. It's like people just out here on Twitter, out here on their podcasts, out here on their YouTube channels, just talking, saying words into nothing.
That's all they do is talk.
No dollars.
No dollars involved.
No, just bullshit is what it is.
These people will be playing in free leagues.
Yeah.
Where they don't care.
Yeah.
Just making trades for the fuck of it with no actual dollars involved. Okay.
I don't respect that shit. I don't
play in a fucking dynasty or a redraft league that's like $50 or less. Because that shit is...
It's not worth my time.
It's not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it. I'm not playing in no $10 redraft league or $10 dynasty league. Like, you got me fucked up. I'm sorry.
Bro, you think about it, sit here and debate your trades if there's like, what, $0.1 on the line? Stop the cap. Stop the fucking cap right now.
I mean, everybody's different. I respect people's opinions. I'm just saying, like, that's our opinion.
Anthony Schwartz. That's who I was talking about, by the way. My boy, Cleveland burner. Fastest wide receiver in the upcoming class. All day, all night.
I mean, this is just an easy spot for me to go all in on the Packers offense.
I mean, you're not going to take MVS, are you?
I think I have to.
With Lazard out there?
Which one?
I'm a Lazard guy.
I gotta go with the burner deep threat.
I mean, you want to talk about worst hands in the league. That boy MVS drops like easy touchdowns on the regular. Like it almost seems like he's trying to do it on purpose.
That's a fact, but he's still going to be on the field, and he has a different role than every other Packers wide receiver. So
he does. I mean, MVS is either a waste of a pick or one of the more slept on options going in the 18th round. It all depends on where Rodgers goes. If Rodgers stays, then MVS is clear cut of value in the 18th round. If he goes and he's going to be Jordan Love's 3rd, 4th, 5th option, then tough scene.
Tough scene.
All
so
right. Let's pull some of these teams up, see what we got cooking.
All right. So I have my team up on the side with Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold as my quarterbacks. Pretty solid, I think. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, like that top tier guy. Obviously, some uncertainty around him. Then I just waited.
You got him 11 picks after ADP, so value. You didn't reach for it, despite having Devontae Adams.
And then Carson Wentz got him after ADP, and Sam Darnold got him at a major value.
Mm-hmm.
And then J.K. Dobbins, Chase Edmonds, David Johnson, Tariq Cohen. I think the theme of my team is I didn't reach on any of these guys that I drafted. Besides a couple, I either went really close to ADP or after ADP. So my running back's pretty solid. Get the top tier upside, I think, with JT and JK. And then got some guys that I'm personally high on that have some reception upside in Edmonds and Cohen, and then the Stone Scrub and David Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae, Amari, and Marquez as my Packers wide receivers. So basically took the entire Packers offense besides Aaron Jones. But Adams at pick 17, I think that's fine. I mean, this was a guy going in the 8th round. not too long, or 8th round, with the 8th pick or the 9th pick not too long ago. DJ Moore stacked him with Sam Darnold, so I got that late. Kenny G, Devontae Smith, Mike Williams, Paris Campbell with Carson Wentz. So got a nice little stack with all of my quarterbacks, and pretty much reached on Amari, but got the value with Marquez, and then basically took everybody else to ADP, and then Fant and Tunyon. So
solid team, very solid team.
Pretty solid team, pretty correlated.
I think I like your team more than mine, to be completely honest.
I think I have a lot of touchdown upside with Devontae, Kenny, Mike Williams,
even Devontae Smith to an extent.
Yep, who are all touchdown guys. DJ Moore is a solid wide receiver too. So really like my team. Now we have your team, your boys, Lamar and Stafford.
Feel super comfortable about that as a 2 QB build. I mean, Lamar Jackson's going to be high floor, high ceiling, and Stafford is the type of guy who can put up a big enough ceiling game that, maybe he overtakes Lamar Jackson on a certain, number of weeks, but they have different buys. And, when you take 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 rounds, you kind of have to, I think, stick with just 2 and hope that they work out. I feel good about my running backs and even my tight ends, but wide receiver is weak for this team, I think.
Yeah, with Keenan, Ayuk, Gallup, Hollywood, there's definitely a drop off after Ayuk. I think we discussed Gallup briefly as kind of like a low floor, high ceiling option. So
Hollywood's the same type of way.
Yep, I think Hollywood's going to take a back seat, just in terms of the wide receiver 1 role to Bateman. And I think Sammy Watkins and Tylan Wallace will also eat targets away from Hollywood. So I'm kind of not really high on him, but you have Lamar, so could see why you picked him. Terrace Marshall.
After ADP too, I didn't reach to make that stack happen, and I wouldn't have, because I agree with you in terms of what I think Marquise Brown's projected role becomes going forward, but I do think that he will still have his big weeks. I mean, that's the type of player he is, and he has chemistry with Lamar Jackson, and first round wide receiver is not a guarantee to smash in year 1. So I think Brown is still a valid option, especially after pick 100.
Yeah. Personally, I'm not too high on him, but I could see the reasoning why. But other than that, I mean,
a lot of shots.
Yeah.
I mean, Shepard's fine.
I mean, you reached on Shepard, reached on Slayton according to ADP. And then you have Evan Ingram, but no Danny Dime. So took three Giants, which is kind of tough, I think. But I like Callaway, and then you like Schwartz. So it is what it is. But I don't think this is $1 million winner out of you.
Excuse me. You saying I just burned the 25 clip?
Yeah, I think you just burned $25.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. All right, man. That's wild. Wow.
You might have just took it out and lit it on fire, because this team ain't it. This team ain't it.
Wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last.
I mean, but I will say, the team that won Underdogs tournament last year wasn't it, if you looked at it before the season either. So, yeah, you really never know.
You never know, dude. I mean, we talk about it when it comes to DK Millie makers. Sometimes you just got to throw some bullshit in there and see what happens.
That's a fact, because it seems like most of the time it's some bullshit winning, and these people don't be thinking. So,
shit. I mean, I would say we should review some other people's teams, but I mean, I don't know any of these people. I didn't see anybody in the chat ask for it, so
No, I think
I'm doing it out of the courtesy of my heart. You got to request that. No cap.
Yeah. No, I mean, hour in, I think this is a good place to end it.
Yeah. Feels good. If you guys liked what you saw, if you're watching this on replay, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the DFS Dose YouTube channel. Got a ton of content coming up shortly, as well as any podcast platform that you use, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podcast Addict. We are everywhere. Going to have a banger of an episode coming out on Thursday. We dropped a banger last week. If you guys missed it, make sure you go and check that out. We talked about a ton of things and a lot of good insight coming. I'm really excited for this podcast this week too. Banger. It's coming.
Banger.
You already know. You already know the vibes.